Welcome to Solar Oregon's Comparing Solar Quotes workshop. My name is Nicole, and I'm a program manager at the nonprofit Solar Oregon. This is a reoccurring workshop. We have this workshop almost monthly, and we also do a how to go solar in storage workshop. It gives you a Solar 101 look at solar and storage and your options for that as well. We'll reference some of that webinar here today, but if you haven't checked out our How to Go Solar and Storage workshop, that will be monthly and is accessible online as well. So today we're going to cover components that you often will see in a grid-tied system. We'll look at different elements that will show up in a solar quote, some other criteria that you might want to take into consideration as you are working on choosing a contractor. And we'll look at a couple examples and also share a resource to find a solar contractor in the Trade Ally Network in our state. Solar Oregon is a 501c3 nonprofit, and we have worked to encourage solar and storage adoption throughout our state for over 46 years. We do this by providing workshops like these. We also do showcases and in-person tours. We have an annual Solar Wine Tour, which we just had this last weekend. And then in the fall, we have our Go Zero Homes Tour, and that will be on October 4th this year. We are also a member-based organization, so if you're not a member, consider joining and helping support our mission. And if you are a member, thank you for your support. So here's our next How to Go Solar and Storage workshop, and that will be on June 4th at 5 p.m. online. And you can see this on our Eventbrite page as well as on our website and sign up for it there. This workshop series is supported by Energy Trust of Oregon. Energy Trust is an independent nonprofit that was established in 2002 that provides resources to help enable customers of the investor-owned utilities in our state to access energy efficiency and renewable energy. They offer key incentives for solar and battery storage. Thank you, Energy Trust. And for more information about them, you can scan the QR code or you can go to energytrust.org. I'm also going to put some helpful links in the chat. And these have links to our website as well as other resources for solar like Energy Trust website, Community Solar, if you are interested in learning more about that as well. If you do have any questions as we go through this webinar, feel free to put your questions in the Q&A. We'll be using the chat box to just share those resource links out with you as we go through the presentation. Energy Trust of Oregon also has a bid request tool on their website where you can get connected to the Trade Ally Network to find a solar contractor. It's a quick form. It's just 3 to 5 minutes to fill out, and you can say if you're looking for solar or solar paired with storage. And like I mentioned, if you have any questions throughout this workshop today, feel free to put them in the Q&A, and we'll save time at the end of this presentation to go over any questions. I'm going to also launch a couple polls just to learn more about where you're joining from today. This helps us see where our education is reaching across the state. So I'll go ahead and launch those now. We also have questions about demographics, so we can see who we're reaching in our community. And as well, another question about your familiarity with Energy Trust incentives. All right, and then after this poll, we'll just jump right into it. Once again, thank you for sharing your answers with us. So we'll look at the components in the system first for a grid tie system. It's a pretty simple how it all fits together. You have a solar panel, which is sometimes referred to as photovoltaic or PV panels, and that is what is going to create a voltage of electricity from the sunlight that is hitting the panel. That will be a certain type of voltage called direct current or DC, and that will need to get converted to alternating current or AC, which is what your outlets and appliances use. And so before this electricity flows to your electrical panel in your home, it'll actually go to the inverter or microinverter. And that is the component that will make that conversion from DC to AC. Once that's converted, that alternating current electricity will flow to your electrical panel, and then it could be used by the outlets and appliances in your home. When you install a grid tied solar system, you'll also get a special bidirectional meter, and this meter will measure the flow of electricity that you send out to the grid as well as the energy that you pull from the grid. Um, and in our state, we have a special arrangement called net metering, which allows you to get credit on your energy bill for the energy that you produce and send out to the grid. This is an example of a PGE bill on the right, where the customer has solar. And so you can see that it is going to use that bidirectional meter to measure their consumption, and then what they send out to the grid as excess generation. And in this example, they actually produced more electricity than they consumed. So they had 0 billable kilowatt hours, and were able to add that excess generation to their year-to-date bank. And that's where you'll see your credits on your bill for a PGE bill. Both PGE and Pacific Power customers right now have a one-to-one net metering rate. If you have another utility, they might have a different credit rate if you are a grid-tied system in that area. And then the two graphs on the left just show you what a summer month and a winter month might look like if you install solar. So here in our state, net metering years start April 1st. So they start before the really sunny summer months. So you can build up more credit. You are producing more solar, and that's demonstrated with the orange bar. And then you can consume that energy that you are producing, and that's demonstrated with the blue bar. And in the sunny summer months, you could produce more solar than you consume. So illustrated with the green arrow, you could see you would have net metering credit earned. And then you could pull from those credits in the winter months where you might be producing less with your solar. Solar is highly modular and can be customized to what the needs are of your home. And that's why there's not just one answer that fits all. Really, a contractor is going to be looking at your electricity consumption, what your goals are for your home, and available space for the solar panels. Some other factors that could impact what your system design looks like are going to be where your home is located. Is it shaded? Also, if you maybe are part of an HOA, sometimes HOAs have restrictions on where you can install the panels, but they cannot restrict you from going solar altogether. If you have questions about that and you do have an HOA, feel free to reach out to us. Many of the local contractors have had experience working with HOAs, but it is something you would want to check and see what the policies of your HOA are, and work with a contractor to work through that. And your roof condition can also impact your ability to go solar. Solar panels have a life about 20 to 25 years. So it's recommended to have at least 10 plus years of roof life before you install panels, but it is good to have more so that you're matching that roof life with the life of the panels that you install. Available space, budget, those can be other factors that impact your ability to go solar. The average size for a solar system here in our state is about 8 kW or 8 kilowatts. And the average size for home battery storage is about 13.5 kilowatt hours. And so that is an individual battery. Batteries come in different sizes. Something that's important to know, if you decide to do more than one battery, you can mix and match the sizes, but you are needing to stay within the same brand. So if you get one brand of battery, you want to stay in that brand since the chemistries can vary across brand types. And then the goal with your solar system is usually to produce enough electricity to help offset what you consume at your home, and then not try to oversize it too much. You do want to build up those credits for net metering, but if you gain a lot of credits and you don't use them all, after the net metering year ends on March 31st, so it goes from April 1st to March 31st, any unused credits get donated to low-income customers. So you want to try to match your system with your needs and your consumption. Reasons cost can vary for solar and storage. It could be the system size is different, the different components that you might have included in your system. For example, if you have solar and battery storage, that can increase the cost of your overall system. If you need to update your roof before you install the panels, maybe because you don't have enough roof life, that could increase your cost. Also, if you have a really old electrical panel, you may need to update that as well. If you add a battery um, and decide to do a partial home backup versus a whole home backup, that's going to impact the design and cost. And of course, your access to incentives will impact the cost. And if you really want to learn more about these basics of solar and storage, like I said, join us at that How to Go Solar and Storage. We go into these topics a little bit more into detail. All right. And then things that you might want to consider when you're comparing different solar quotes. We always recommend that you get at least 3 quotes if you're able. If you're in more rural parts of our state, there might be less solar installers that service that area, but if you are able to, having at least 3 quotes is going to help you really compare the different systems and what you're getting for each of those different quotes. So when you look at your quote, you want to know how many watts is proposed in your system design. You can also calculate your cost per watt by dividing the total cost of your system by the watt capacity. So if you had that 8 kilowatt system, you would take your cost and divide it by the 8,000 kilowatt or 8,000 watts, because an 8 kilowatt system is 8,000 watts. And then you want to look at the production estimate, which is usually included on a quote to show how much your system is estimated to produce in electricity, and then see if there's any other charges that are included in that quote. Are they including like different components across the quotes? Are there different charges maybe for add-ons, things like that? So we're going to look at some elements that are commonly in a quote. When you review your quote, you will usually see a section that will dive into different types of equipment that are used in the design. And will also tell you what they estimate the installation time and labor costs to be. Installation time can vary depending on the complexity of your system design. So for example, if you have a really steep pitch roof, that can definitely increase the labor and cost of that. Also, you want to look at like what warranties and maintenance are included in the quote. I mentioned add-ons earlier, and so if you are getting solar in one quote, but you're getting solar plus home battery storage in another quote. You want to make sure you're comparing apples to apples, and then also look at what other um, add-ons there might be. Um, are they suggesting that you upgrade your electrical panel or get an essential loads panel? And an essential loads panel is often used when you are doing solar paired with storage. And that would be a second panel that's added to your home that has the circuits that you are connecting to the battery for backup. There are also smart electrical panels on the market now, which can just replace your old electrical panel, and it can work similar to an essential loads panel. So looking and seeing like if that's included in part of the design and making sure you're comparing that. If there's advanced production monitoring included, sometimes you'll see like suggestions for critter guards. We all know like squirrels like to get into places that they shouldn't and could chew on things. So some installations would recommend critter guards if that is a known issue in your neighborhood. Also, the type of technology in your system is going to impact that cost. So different brands have different costs, and usually contractors will specialize in a particular brand based on the manufacturer and warranties that they have. So if you are wanting a specific type of panel, a brand of panel, checking with your contractor to see if they have that available, and then just knowing that different brands are going to have different price points. Also, is the technology newer? There is something called solar roof tiles on the market, and so that's not just a panel that gets attached to your roof. It is actually the roofing material as well as the panel, and that is newer technology and more expensive. So just noting that that can impact the cost of the system and make a difference across quotes. What type of inverters are there? Are there DC optimizers included? Those are things that you'll want to just keep an eye out for. For the warranties, looking at the length of coverage and what type of scenarios are covered is important. Is a warranty a contractor or manufacturer warranty? Also, if you are installing a new roof and installing panels, coordinating with both of those contractors so they know what your overall plan is. And you can communicate with both of them so that you know what is going to happen with your warranties if you're doing a brand new roof as well as installing solar. If you're installing a metal roof, sometimes you need special anchoring equipment so that the solar installers can install the panels. So just coordinating with both of them and making sure they're aware of what your overall plan is going to make the process smoother. And then there's different lengths of workmanship warranties. And so she's paying attention to what those are and asking questions. You know, some of the best installers are there to help answer questions. And of course, we're here as well. So if you get your quotes and you're kind of to that step where you're comparing them and questions do arise, you can always reach out to us. Um, and we have email box that's kind of like our question box at info@solaroregon.org. I'll just repost those links in the chat. And those are all the links that we're referencing throughout this presentation. So if you didn't grab them earlier, they're in the chat now as well. And I'll post them one more time at the end of the presentation. Yeah, and then differences in logistics. Different quotes might have different payment structures or financing options. Um, some folks can check with their current bank or credit union to see if there is financing options for solar. Sometimes banks won't have that available or won't have loans available for solar. So some contractors work with a third party bank or broker that can help finance your system. But as with any financial decision, you want to make sure that you are reviewing, questions that you have. Take your time, make the right decision for you and your family, and pay attention to the timelines for payment and fees. There's a lot of different types of financing for solar. There are loans. You want to be looking at the interest rate for loans, if there's any hidden fees or dealer fees. Sometimes dealer fees can be pretty high, so just making sure you check if those are part of your loan financing. Um, and also seeing if there's any penalty for paying off the loan early. Who holds your loan is also really helpful to know. And then knowing if you can refinance the loan as well. Some folks will also choose to lease the systems. And so that means they wouldn't own the equipment, they would just access the energy from it. So that's another option. But just being sure to review what is available to you and make sure that's going to fit financially for what the goals of your household are. Power purchasing agreements are less common in our state, but there are some of those available. And then things to remember is that interest payments on your loan don't qualify for the current federal tax credit. And then some loans will let you refinance after you are able to claim the federal tax credit. So if you are getting a loan, those are two good things to check. Here are some of the incentives that are currently available in our state. So right now, there is still the federal solar investment tax credit or investment tax credit, also sometimes called the ITC. And there have been a lot of policy changes in the recent months here federally. So we are tracking this. And if you are thinking about claiming it, just making sure that you are checking in with a tax professional so that you claim it correctly is super important. Right now, that federal tax credit is set up to be a 30% tax credit, and it's dollar for dollar. So 30% of the cost of your solar or storage. And this would actually be something you would claim when you're filing your taxes and it would less the taxes you owe. So you do have to have tax liability in order to claim this credit. In our state, we also have Energy Trust standard incentives. So if you're a Pacific Power or PGE customer, and you work with a Energy Trust trade ally, they can apply for a standard solar tax, standard incentive upon your behalf. And so for that Energy Trust standard incentive for solar, right now it's $900 for PGE customers and $1,050 for Pacific Power customers. And these would directly impact your out-of-pocket cost. So this would be something your trade ally contractor helps you apply for, and it would impact that cost immediately, whereas the federal tax credit is something that you would be applying for when you're filing your taxes. In addition to the standard incentive that Energy Trust has for solar, there's also one for home battery storage. And so that is also available for PGE and Pacific Power customers. If you're a PGE customer, the standard battery storage incentive is $400 per kilowatt hour, up to the max of $4,800. And if you're a Pacific Power customer, it's $450 per kilowatt hour, up to the maximum of $5,400. And so that would also impact your out-of-pocket cost. Energy Trust also has additional income qualified incentives for solar and storage. And we go into this in more detail in our How to Go Solar and Storage workshop. But you might qualify for it. So on their website, they have the income qualifications. So it's just good to check those just in case you do qualify. And just a disclaimer, Solar Oregon is not a tax professional, so that's why we always recommend folks to contact their tax professional if they are wanting to claim that federal tax credit. So beyond the quote itself, there are some other aspects to consider. For example, does the contractor or company you're looking for have credentials that you are looking for? For example, are they part of the Energy Trust of Oregon Trade Ally Network? This network usually has pre-vetted contractors that are more locally based and installations that meet the Energy Trust requirements. Other certifications you can check out is if they are on the Better Business Bureau. Are they a B Corp certified company? If that's something that you're interested in. Do they have, particular values that you support? Are they locally based? Some of these types of credentials might be other things that you might want to look at as you are reviewing contractors. As well as credentials, you can also look at reviews. Um, there are reviews online. You can also ask your solar contractor for references or testimonials. If you were installing a newer type of technology, for example, those solar roof tiles, um, checking in with your contractor that you're thinking of working with to install those and seeing how many homes they've installed the solar roof tiles on, and if there is a customer that you can connect with to see what their experience was, can be helpful. And then some other things you could consider are your thoughts and feelings about the business itself. So, company culture, the size and structure, years in business is another big one. So, for any type of contracting business, having a company that has a good reputation and has been around and in the community for a while can help make things more smooth as they have the experience and also reviews from other people in your community. So we talked about some of the elements in a quote, but this might be what you see at the top of your quote. So it might show the system details, how big the system is, the system production, what type of equipment is included, like the make and model of the panels, the capacity of the panels, what type of monitoring there is, what type of batteries. And then there's usually a energy consumption comparison versus production estimate. You can also see the system price, monthly cost if you're doing financing. Looking at the price per watt can be helpful. And again, you could calculate that by um, dividing out the cost of the system by the um, watt capacity. And then you should also see like if you're accessing incentives, that should be lessening your out-of-pocket cost. Remember the tax incentives though would be what you would apply for when you're filing your taxes, and that would decrease your tax liability. And looking at the loan amounts is really important. If you're going to be paying or financing your system with a loan, what is the monthly payment? And making sure that makes sense for your household. Also, like in this example, goes in a little bit more detail. You can see like they're using SILFAB panels, an N-phase inverter, N-phase monitoring, and then they have that estimated consumption production graph for you to review. And then some helpful reminders when you are financing your system. It's great to be able to ask some of these questions, such as what is the interest rate? What are the dealer fees? Is there an early payoff penalty? We went over some of these earlier, but these are just good questions. Anytime you're getting a loan, to make sure that you're understanding the full terms and conditions of that loan. And we'll take a look at how you can connect to contractors in our state. So we mentioned earlier the Trade Ally Network, and that is through Energy Trust of Oregon. And so they have a Trade Ally network of solar installers who are pre-vetted. They're able to offer those Energy Trust incentives that we talked about for solar and storage. And they're familiar with the installation requirements and oftentimes are more locally based. Um, and this is that link again. If you don't already have a quote, you can get one through the solar bid tool. Here's that link to that. As well as if you go through this and you get bids and you have any other questions, feel free to reach out. As well as if you are interested in learning more about community solar, there's some links in the chat that go to community solar as well as co-op solar, which are some other options if you rent or if you are not getting solar right away at your home or business, you can still be part of community solar. And installation, just a reminder, installation is usually 1 to 4 days, depending on the complexity of the system. And once you have selected your contractor and signed the contract, you will usually go through the process of going through permitting, which your contractor will handle. And then there's going to be some paperwork for you to sign as you go through that process, as well as for interconnection, there's interconnection fees that will also need to be addressed if you're a grid tie system. If you're off grid, that's a little bit different. And then permitting can take a little bit longer in Multnomah County. Folks are working to bring that amount of time down, so it's not as long as 12 months, so it's gotten better. But just setting that expectation if you are in Multnomah County, that permitting is a little bit longer than the rest of the state. And then your contractor will manage the inspections and help with the interconnection. And usually interconnection can take a few weeks, but once you're interconnected, your home will be producing clean renewable power from the sunlight falling right on your property. And we'll jump right into Q&A. So if you have any questions, feel free to put those in the chat. I'm sorry, in the Q&A box, and I will go ahead and put the resources in the chat one more time, where you can access helpful resources for solar and storage as well as incentives. And yeah, if you have any questions, let us know. Well, thank you so much for joining today, and we will post this to our YouTube channel, but feel free to check this out and our other videos on YouTube. We will do our next How to Go Solar and Storage workshop on June 4th, and we hope to see you there. Thank you.